Kia ora, welcome into The Form, where we preview the best races for the weekend with our best experts. And back on The Form once again this week is Leith Innes. And Leith, well, I've got a huge meeting now at Matamata, 12 races with the inclusion of the Arrowfield Plate and the Hawke's Guineas, and you'll be back on track as well. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a long day, 12 races, so lucky it's daylight saving. Exactly, and joining us again on The Form, we've got Bevan Sweeney and Brendan Popplewell. And Brendan, you'll be on track as well at Matamata, and look, Matamata trainers to the fore with plenty of runners in.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a big old day, as Leith said, and what an inclusion we've got with a Group 1 race at Matamata and also the Hawke's Guineas. But surrounding that, you've also got a very good undercard 3-year-old race where you've got one of the favourites for the 1,000 Guineas and one of the favourites for the 2,000 Guineas in Stellar Splendida and Denby Road, and also the Matamata Cup. So it really is set up for a great day. Fingers crossed that the weather plays its part too. The weather's supposed to be good by Saturday, so let's hope that is the case.
Hope the weather gods play their part as well in the Central Districts, Bevan Sweeney, because we've got Hawera to look forward to, and the Taranaki breeders. You've got some really nice horses running around there as well.
Yeah, morning, Pip. I just wish Mother Nature would stop having a hissy fit driving through snow this morning to get here to do the form, and there's further forecasts through the remainder of the day. But we do have a couple of decent sort of days leading into the day at Hawera for their feature meeting with the Taranaki breeders and Alan Sherrick holding a strong hand there. But all in all, with what happened last week, I think we set up for a very good week of racing this week.
Let's hope so, and let's hope that weather does play its part. Let's have a look what's coming up on The Form for you, and we'll be starting, yes, with that feature preview out of Matamata, the renewed Arrowfield, with the inclusion of Imperatriz, our race trackers, our horses and greyhounds to follow throughout the weekend and further. The preview, of course, we'll be looking at Hawera as well with that Taranaki breeders, the preview of the Hawke's Guineas, and a nice three-year-old race too on the undercard. Opie Bosson will be joining us, a full card and riding the two favourites in the Group 1 and Group 2 at Matamata, and our best bets for the weekend. Hopefully we can find you a winner or two and build a nice bank. And time to preview the feature of the weekend. It is the Group 1 Arrowfield Plate now at Matamata. So Bevan Sweeney will bring you back in, of course. It was supposed to be at Hastings. You made your way down there last weekend. What can you tell us when you arrived and saw the track conditions?
Well, I'm not sure we need to spend too much time, Pip. It sort of started raining at 1 o'clock on the Friday. It didn't stop until 6 o'clock in the morning. In fact, it kept on going right through Saturday after we left and into Sunday. So in waterlogged conditions, just that water table high, just any sort of rain was going to put it in a heavy 10, and it was 12, 16 hours of continuous rain. So I thought the right decision was made. There's been some chit-chat about the thoughts about where the race should have gone, and a few unhappy parties and a few happy parties. I think we just have to believe in the programming committee and their reasons for moving it to Matamata and get on with the job, because it will be a great day at Matamata.
And getting on with the job, yes, we'll go to you, Brendan Popplewell. Let's talk about the weather and track conditions. Can we expect maybe just that little bit of an improvement that we're looking for?
Yeah, there is a chance, Pip, because Wednesday morning the track was sitting around that soft 7 mark. Now, there was some reports, and a couple of trainers I've spoken to, and Dennis Ryan, on that it was nearly on a 6 on Wednesday morning. Now, there has been a couple of mil of rain, and it's just pushed it back to that heavy bracket to a heavy 8. But as I said beforehand, there is some drying conditions. They haven't quite copped the rain like what we have here in Hamilton. We've had a lot of rain overnight, but they haven't had all that rain in Matamata. So that's a key pointer. Friday and Saturday are both drying days. At least the sun's going to be out. So let's hope we can get that condition into that soft range.
Let's have a look at the market and what we can expect. We've got two favourites, and they are the mares, Le Creek and Imperatriz, and she's come up now at $2. She was around 2.7, wasn't she, before this market got the final fields. Le Creek now 2.8, and Prix de Fur at $8. Let's take a look at the all-important speed map with our two favourites drawing the inside. Where do you see them sitting, Leith?
Yeah, look, I think Opie's going to be back on of Grills. He's right behind him. He's going to track him right into the race, and it's just going to be up to Sam Spratt if she wants to either sit outside the leader or lead. Obviously, Deerfield looks like the natural leader in the race, but the two favourites are going to have, they're going to both end up in the dream spot.
What about you, PP? Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think this really could set down for a match race between these two 4-year-old mares. If they can get into a position like this, gives them both the prime opportunity of winning this race. They're both, $2.80 versus $2. We could see something spectacular, both on their home track. Both horses are in prime condition for this race coming into Saturday. So, yeah, I think it sets the race up beautifully.
Yeah, I sort of lost interest in the speed bet once they drew where they did Le Creek in Imperatriz. I think they find those spots and it's going to be hard for them to beat. I think the big loser out of the cancellation last Saturday is more than likely Mustang Valley, who was very, very good on those very wet track conditions, and she might not be getting that on Saturday. So she might be the big loser out of the cancellation day number 1.
Let's have a look at Imperatriz, because she did have a track gallop at Te Rapa last week, and look, by all reports, Leith, she's come through this really, really nicely.
Yeah, Opie was really happy with a piece of work. Obviously that race at Hawke's Bay may have taken a little bit out of her, and she's taken, you know, a week to sort of recover, but her work on Tuesday was, Opie's comments were she was airborne.
I mean, that's big talk, isn't it, Leith, with what Opie is saying, that the horse is airborne through work on Tuesday. That was brilliant track gallop, wasn't it? Exhibition gallop from the horse on Friday. I mean, all the expectation was this horse was going to Australia, but now with the move of the race to on the back doorstep, it's hard to resist, isn't it? And you can understand why the Tangerine team have decided that they want to have a shot at this Group 1, and it makes it very scary for the opposition hearing those sort of words. Now, La Creek, where does she sort of sit into this mixture now, Leith, with what we're hearing there around Imperatriz and how La Creek's prepared leading into this race on Saturday?
Yeah, I just like as soon as the draws come out, it's going to end up as a match race, and I can see them sort of clearing out by maybe 4 or 5 lengths. I think it's a sort of certain Quinella.
Oh, I like that confidence. Let's have a look at the Tarzino Trophy. It is the lead-in race to the Arrowfield Plate. But look, how much can we take out of this, Bevan, considering that it's now a completely different track and, you know, track conditions and everything?
Well, the one thing what you can take out of the Imperatriz gallop was that she's low flying. Her balance and her action there was amazing. She was just flat and not really moving. She was outstanding. I think we can still take a fair bit out of this, that Imperatriz won't handle it if it rains, and maybe Le Creek will. I think she was just a little bit unlucky in this particular performance. Springtide having to travel, I think that's influential on him, but he seems to be going really nicely. Of course, Dark Stories come out of this particular event, so look, they were probably on a par when you line up these two performances on this particular day. Imperatriz was amazing at Te Rapa, and the reports are that she's going really, really well again. So, look, I think the draws make it a match race. I'd be surprised if anything else really gets into it, boys.
And the other thing too is that this is going to be a different track addition to what we see there at Hawke's Bay. That was a heavy 10 surface where, as you can see in the concluding stages, Imperatriz was, you know, was flat to be able to finish in the money and was caught late by La Creek. This is a different beast, isn't it? And also on the home track. For both of these horses, it really just changed the whole nature of this particular race. And as you mentioned, Bevan, horses like Springtide are not advantaged with the change. Mustang Valley, with her being a strong chance of winning the race under the conditions at Hawke's Bay, with where the conditions were there. And now this is a different race for her also, but also a horse that's got that residual fitness on her side and has raced well through her preparation. But yeah, I just keep coming back to these two horses with what they've done, where they're likely to sit in the race. It does set up for a dream finish. I think it's a race where we're looking for our best horses to be going up against each other, and these two horses, they could fly the flag in Australia very shortly too, and let's hope we see that type of race on Saturday at Matamata.
Have a look at the inclusions and the defections, the horses that ended up paying up to head into this race now that it's moved to Matamata, and also the deflections, the horses that decided not to go here. The inclusions, well, we've obviously got the main one here, Leith, Imperatriz. You've got Prix de Feu as well from the team, and the deflections, well, there were plenty of them.
Yeah, I don't think there's one trainer in Matamata that decided that races at Matamata this week, with the extra 4 races put on and the stake money, I don't think there was any losers or any unhappy trainers that day when they announced last week that the races are all going to be at Matamata.
And Bevan, look, no surprise really to see the likes of maybe Helena Baby and White Noise not want to head there, but we do see them step out in a couple of other races on the weekend.
Yeah, Defibrillate, I understand, is going to go to the last day at Hastings, and he'll be fresh up into that. He has one in that particular state as well. There's a lot of money for Prix de Feu here, 11 into $8 in this particular race, and Imperatriz is just a great addition to the race. Chase, with improving track conditions, won't be going. I saw him trial up. He trialled up really well on Tuesday. However, he needs it wet as well, so he's probably a loser out of the day being caught off at the Bay. But yeah, Prix de Feu, the money there is really strong. With Jason Laking, that's a great pickup for the team. Him coming north, he's a very good rider, Pip.
Absolutely, Bevan. And then Well, what do you have to say, Brendan? You've got Lee Sabalera there as well. And what do you think about the money for Predator? Maybe just that local Matamata track?
Yeah, look, I think we have to respect it because this is a horse who is a Group 1 performer. You've only got to go off last season. This horse ran, 3 Group 1 placings, including 2 of them over the Hawke's Bay Carnival, when running a placing in this race last year as the Windsor Park Plate at Hawke's Bay, and then of course going on to be placed in the Livermore. We've always spoken about how, look, he's maybe a length or 2 off winning a Group 1, but he still competes in those races, doesn't he? So with it being on his back doorstep now, he's had a couple of runs in through this preparation. I think we need to respect the little money move around the horse. I thought Vernon Me could be a little sneaky if you're looking to try and play sort of multiples here, drawn well, can at least utilise that sort of position, and is a horse that has been Group 1 placed 3 times last season also. So he's a quality horse with a run under his belt. So yes, we have spoken a lot about these top 2 in the market, but then you've got horses like Harlock and Tiptronic. Look, there are Group 1 performers in amongst this field, even though there's 2 dominant favourites.
I like that, BP. Well, let's have a look at what the key chances trainers had to say about their work leading into Saturday.
When it was called off, we whipped her back into the track and she just went for a little bit of a leg stretch around on the grass then. So yeah, we'll defer our last bit of fast work till tomorrow. She worked lovely, yesterday and today. So yeah, really we're just marking time technically, as we were ready to go on Saturday.
Okay, and potentially you're going to get a better track here on Saturday, so that's to her advantage, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to think that's the case. Obviously we had an awful lot of rain yesterday, but I guess out of all the options, this track has the potential to come back better than most, and the fact that we've got that strip of new ground. So yeah, so those are definitely pluses and not having to travel.
Predator just canted and he's going to gallop tomorrow, and he'll still be nominated for the Matamata Cup just with that clause that the horses that were in the Arrowfield get preference just in case he missed out. He would run in the Matamata Cup if he missed out. And Imperatrice galloped nice, 1,000. Opie was happy with her this morning.
Her exhibition gallop looked first class at Te Rapa. She looks in great order going into this one.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a lot of changes going on, but one thing we can't control is the weather, and so Sydney actually looks wetter for this weekend than Matamata, so we've elected to stay home.
I don't think it affects us anyway. Actually, it's probably a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And likely to get a better track, which will definitely be an advantage for him, won't it?
Yeah, like as I've said all along, he's working the house down at the moment, and you know I'd be happy to even see it come back at a 9-8. I still think he's going to get through it. He just seems a bit stronger, a bit better horse this year, and I don't think the moisture in the track's going to be a problem. Okay, we saw him work really well here last week. What about today? What did you make of that? Yeah, he did it pretty easy again, and he's finding extra gears at the end of his work. So, you know, as long as he's fit enough, and I'm really happy with his work, and I know Cameron's been pretty smitten by him too.
You know, she doesn't have to have another long trip away, and yeah, that extra week between races certainly helps her. How's her work been this week? Yeah, good. She just had a really good gallop this morning on quite a rain-affected grass, and she always gets through that sort of ground well, and she did gallop very well. Okay, have you seen that extra week has brought her on a little bit more? Yeah, I think it's helped her. She's a pretty fit horse now, so we don't really need to do too much. It's just a matter of whether she's up to the mid-weight for age.
Andrew makes a great point there about Mustang Valley, just having that little gap in between runs. Of course, she was in a Merrimetric mile, then looking to back up the following Saturday into Group 1, so now she has space in between her runs now, and she is more closer to home in Mustang Valley. Just about around La Creek and her piece of work that she did have on Wednesday morning. She covered 1,000 metres in 101.5, her last 634.2 for her 600, last 600 in her piece of work on Wednesday. Craig Grill's very happy with what he was able to feel underneath, and also where the track conditions, as I said, were at that point of the morning. So La Creek team are sitting in a comfortable position. Bevan, will bring you in around a couple of the other horses, and certainly a beneficiary of a move to Matamata in the home track is Harlock. He's a horse who, as I mentioned, he's run well in the series last year. He gets himself on hopefully a slightly better surface too.
Yeah, well, I was keen on him last Saturday, so I can't get off his back this particular Saturday. There's some great value in the market for you. I think with an improving track condition, he comes into this race even more strongly. He was very competitive through last season's series. He's up there at $26. I mean, second, third, fourth BP. I don't think that would be a bad play in this particular race. He's giving you pretty good value there. Look, I think he's the overs in this particular race as we go back and have a look at his performance through the series last year when he ran fourth on this occasion, and maybe this was BP a look at spring tide up to the 1600 metres, maybe not his go, but we'll find out on Saturday. I think he's a player, and the other one we haven't spoken about who was immense on day number one was Green Luck. I know he's at an absolute blowout price, but his sectional home was really, really good. And Leith and I spoke about him a little bit last Friday, saying, well, you can't really ignore his run, but can he make the step up? He was at a blowout price. But you're right, I think Harley gives you a blowout there, BP, if you're looking for the money.
Yeah, look, I think there is a number of chances here away from these top two horses if you are looking to explore, as I mentioned beforehand, the Vernon Mees and the Harlocks. And look, a Tiptronic is a horse who's second up. He's won a couple of Group 1. So there's enough depth in behind. And if you want to go exploring and even go exploring to a horse like Green Luck, who was a horse who was certainly rattling home in the Tarzino. Look, for me, I find it very hard to split both Imperatriz and La Creek, and I'll be pretty keen to take a heavy Quinella around the two. I'll go La Creek. I'll roll the dice and go La Creek just in front of Imperatriz. I don't think there's much between them. Maybe there's a chance of getting a bit more of a price on La Creek with where the horse sits. It was $3, now to around that $2.80. So I'll just play a slightly a value chance in La Creek over Imperatriz. Your thoughts, Bevan?
I'm going to go with Imperatriz BP. I think she's all class. If she gets that slightly better track condition, I think she'll be flying. I hope La Creek pushes her all the way to the line, and if she beats her, I don't think I'll be disappointed in any way, shape or form. But I think the Te Akau team will in for a big day, Pip, at Matamata on Saturday.
Either way, it's going to be a fantastic race, isn't it, Leith? I have a feeling you're with Imperatriz, even though you think it's going to be the Quinella here.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go with Imperatriz. I think the $2 is a little bit short, but I'd be definitely taking the Quinella, maybe get $3.
And we can see how it all unfolds. Race number 9, TAB Trackside 1 at 3:34 on Saturday. But it's time for racetrackers. Yes, our horses and greyhounds to follow throughout the weekend and beyond. And we're going to start with you, Leith Innes. I'm going to say you cheated last week. You went to J Mac at Randwick. Where are you heading this week?
Look, I'm going to take us back to September the 24th. There's a 2-year-old race. Liberon, she won. She didn't just win. She came home in 32.9 seconds for the last 600, and she's going to take a lot of improvement out of this race. It was just great for the Cambridge stud Embellish having a first runner, and for the first runner to come out and win like this, it was a mighty effort. The race she's got in mind, it's going to be not to the 19th of November at Counties, a 2-year-old race over 1100, and it's a listed race, so you're going to have to wait a while till she comes back, but she's going to have a nice little freshen up, and she's the benchmark of the 2-year-old so far.
She dented a few reputations there for sure when she really let down at the 200 metres. I'm going back to Otiki and a first upper for Robbie Patterson and Warren Bolton and the crew. Came out of the trailing position. I talk of Coogee Walk. She really did extend late. This is her first up performance. She jumped, set him behind them, came out into the centre of the track. She is a beautiful horse, as you can see there, with a bit of size about her and going places. But the last bit of her work was clearly the best bit of her work. She flattened out really nicely for a debut runner. She's got across the top of quite a nice sort of horse down towards the inside, and she really stretched out in a very good sectional. This will not be her last win.
Oh, that was nice. I'm going to go to a horse who raced on Wednesday at Ruakaka by the name of Malt Time. There looks to be a good stakes race in this horse. This horse was impressive when winning over 1100 metres. A horse that in the Borry colours, of course, as we know, oh so well with what Miss Potential was able to do on the track. There's a lot to like about this race. I think there's a number of horses we want to be following. Just on the inside of Malt Time is the stablemate in Bella Luce, who is a runner that was just checked at the wrong time there, had to come across heels, get to the outer, and has finished into 4th position and was doing it all through the line and past the line and was right up alongside Malt Time. Blood Warrior was also first up in the race, side by side, was making very good ground to finish into 2nd position. Good race, lots of horses to follow, including the winner Malt Time.
And I'm heading to another greyhound, this time Sunday at Monaco. His name Majestic Legend out of Peter Ferguson's kennel. He's another that I really believe will be on a New Zealand Cup campaign. He's had a couple of starts in New Zealand. He won first up beating Boy Ketis and Pedro Lee. And this is him going toe-to-toe with George's Girl. Yes, it's a small field. She just narrowly holds him off. But if you have a look at his record over in Australia, he's got a brilliant record over the 500 metre on a 2-turn track. He'll step out there on Sunday, comes up with box number 7. Looking at his statistics, he seems to be able to do it all over the track, and Peter Ferguson doesn't often take them to Monaco, so I think if he is, he's going to be heading down towards Christchurch come November for Cup Week, and you might just build a little bank towards Cup Week with this greyhound, and he could be paying nice in the future. So note them down, pop them in your race tracker on tab.co.nz and follow these horses and dogs, and hopefully we'll build you a nice little bank in spring. Time to head to the Central Districts as we preview the Hawera meeting, and we do look forward to the Taranaki breeders. And Bevan, as you alluded to, look, there's snow all around the place at the moment, so what can we expect on the weekend?
Well, there isn't an update on the NZTR website at this present moment. I was a bit surprised. Monday it was heavy 10, then nominations day I think it was a slow 7 or a soft 7. So improved markedly, but the weather has been a little bit dicey since then. There is a very fine day forecast for tomorrow with early frosts, and Saturday is supposed to be very, very fine. So we're hopeful. Sometimes they do get a lot of wind around the mountain there, and it does dry that track out quite quickly. But look, if we get a slow or soft track, we'll be happy.
Oh, absolutely, Bevan. Let's have a look at the Group 3 Taranaki Breeders market for you. It is headed by the local for Alan Sharrock. Darcy Labella, $3.30. Secret of More at 4.2 in the market, as is Jodel and Gow at $6.50. And Bevan, you want to highlight obviously her really impressive win of Darcy Labella just on the Friday at Te Rapa. And look, she just kept on lifting and put away her rivals there on that heavy 8 track.
Yeah, this was super impressive on the day, wasn't it? You see her just coming through the centre. She's not very big, knee high to a grasshopper actually. So with that sort of stature, she gets through these track conditions really, really well. She's pretty dominant in this race. Late was an open over the 12, and there was some nice useful horses in it. They ran 1:13.72 on a heavy 8, so it was reasonable sort of going for this time of year, but she just kept on putting them away through the centre of the track with Kelsey Hannon, who took the weight really off her. She's in at weight for age. It's the top rated horse, so she deserves to be favourite, and she'll be very tough to beat. She's not a winner at 1,400 metres, which is maybe one slight question mark, but you never doubt the Alan Sharrock factor around stretching them out. But she's got a neat little action on her, and she's pretty quick on off-track conditions. Secret of More comes into the race off a very good performance at Wanganui. You see her coming off the back of Ray Stevens there, who's at 31s. Probably deserves to be after a performance at Awapuni last start, but she wasn't far away from Secret of More on this occasion. You see her coming out towards the inside. Victorium is also in the centre of the track, who runs in the race and has taken some pretty good money as well, but Secret of More sectionally on this day was outstanding. Deerfield's in front, so it's a nice form race for sure. I think she's better at 1,600 metres than she is at 1,400 metres, but the better track conditions will bring her right into it. I'll be going with Darcy Labella and just checking out that market again. There has been good money for her. There has been good money for Victorium as well, and a couple of other runners in that race. But look, she's the benchmark. She's in at weight for age. 1,400 metres might be a slight niggle, but she's very capable in off-track conditions. So, Pip, look, I think Alan Sharrock's got a very big chance of taking out the feature there at Hawera.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Bevan, and we'll have a look at another feature on the program. This one's for the 3-year-olds, a really nice field as well. We see She's Dominant opt to not go to the Hawke's Bay Guineas now at Matamata, and we'll head here at 4.2. Sans Doute, of course, Guineas nominated at $2.80, and then Rocker Baby at $6.50. So once again, Bevan, you've got a really nice field here, and you want to highlight She's Dominant, who was just that last start.
Brilliant at Wanganui, and she'll handle off-track conditions for sure. She led up on this occasion, and they looked at the top of the straight that they might be putting up a challenge, but at the line, it was one horse affair really with the big white blaze. Again, she's another one that's a knee-high to a grasshopper, but she can just skip through these off-track conditions, and she did exactly this on this occasion and just kept on running. I think she was at $21 on this occasion, and you actually see her quickening up in this ground down towards the inside, which wasn't the best on the day. Medan sitting down and riding her strongly, but she quickened up quite nicely, and she's dominant at the line. So she deserves to be well in this market. She's got the inside draw. She's sure to find the front with Medan and his riding style, and if she gets there, she'll be very difficult to beat. Sons Doot clearly coming out of a very strong race at Hastings on day number 1 on the program and led up on that occasion and just kept on kicking. It was a different sort of ride from Opie on this occasion. He did get caught 3 wide. He went around them. He found himself in front, and then he was really set to be shot down. And he was late, but by a pretty strong sort of horse and exciting filly and bestseller who flew late. She is an interesting horse. There's a few raps on Sons Doot. Look, I'm not completely convinced yet. However, you respect the money from the team and the thoughts from the team. She probably will be sitting in a pretty forward position as well, Sons Doot from the 6th gate. If they ride her very similarly, Lisa's generally an aggressive sort of rider. She might get outside the lead. Rocker Baby for Anna Clement. This is her first black type stakes winner. So they've been quite patient with Rocker Baby as well. I don't really know how to line up this particular race. So she got to the outside and there was plenty in the mix late, but she was the strongest of them all. She clearly handles off-track conditions, and again, this was a bit of a blowout on the particular day. She got across the top of a couple of well-favoured runners, especially the Te Akea runner down towards the inside, but I prefer she's dominant over Rocker Baby. However, she might just improve out of that performance as well. The one that's really forgotten in this race is Sangrita, who was poleaxed at Hastings the other day when running in the Gold Trail Stakes. She really got knocked over before the corner, and she managed to battle on and be beaten 4 lengths into 4th to get a little bit of black type for the pedigree page, and she was a massive winner at Woodville. I'll be really watching her at a decent sort of price in that particular race as well. But we'll go with she's dominant. Fraser Orette, he likes spacing his races out. She'll be fresh into it. She's got the ace draw. She's sure to lead. And at Hawera, at times, it can be very difficult to make up a bit of ground.
I like the confidence there, Bevan, and some nice little value in behind her as well. You can catch all of that action. The huge day of racing on Saturday, kicking off 10:30 a.m. with the Punters Lounge on TAB Trackside 1. Time to preview the 2 3-year-old features on the undercard at Matamata, including the Group 2 Hawke's Bay Guineas. Let's take a look at the market for you. Dynastic leads the way at 2.2. Bestseller at $3.30. Desert Lightning at 7s, and Pierre at $8. The only other runner in single figures. Once again, Leith, let's have a look at the speed map. You've got Bestseller, who likes to get back in her races, drawn the inside, so not the easiest draw for her, really.
No, it's not. She likes to be ridden a little bit quiet as well. Even with the draw, I don't think they'll push the button too much. I found it a really hard race to map. I see Accidental Taurus has got blinkers on, and they might just try and lead on him, I think. It might not happen, but if it does, I think the rest of the field should just get a nice spot.
Yeah, look, it's a tricky map, isn't it, Leith? You made a good point there with Accidental Taurus with blinkers on, but look, there could be a chance for a horse to really take the initiative to it in this race and punch forward if there's a lead there. Mr. Mojo Rising, a horse who will look to sit prominent, you would imagine. And then, Leith, it's around Dynastic, isn't it, about where he tries to find that position, Opie Bosson, from his outside barrage, or I think he's got a chance of at least sliding in, especially if the stablemate wants to go forward and sit in that front position. Yeah,
you know, hopefully Opie will try and get a little bit of cover. I think, look, he had a really tough run in transit at Hawke's Bay, and I think going forward to the 2000 Guineas, they'll want to just ride him just off the speed a little bit.
Well, let's have a look at Dynastic, because he was brilliant at Hawke's Bay taking out this race. So there's a couple of other horses to look at as well. You've got Pierre running 2nd, Te Awa Bay running 7th as well. And look, there was question mark around him getting through this track here, BP, but he just continued to lift. So maybe with a bit better track at Matamata, he does look a real key contender.
Look, he does. And look, they couldn't beat him on testing track conditions where he was potentially going to be vulnerable. He gets a slightly better track condition here. Pierre's gone right up alongside to beat him, and he's found a way to win that race in the El Roca. So look, it's a horse that we know has won a Karaka Million, has been Group 1 placed behind Lickety Split in a Sistema Stakes last season, and we're expecting big improvement from him as he gets over further and deeper into his 3-year-old preparation. Bevan, if he finds that right spot from a sticky gate and get a good run in transit on a slightly better track than what he had there at Hawke's Bay 3 weeks ago, he's going to be awfully hard to hold out.
I think you made the biggest relevant point, BP. He was a lip away from She's Lickety Split when he was probably half a run short at Ellerslie, and she's going to win the Guineas over there in Australia. And what she did last start, they won't be beating her. She canned it up and blew them away. Now this is a two-horse race. I know Pierre is a horse of a fair bit of quality, but I can't see him turning the tables on Dynastic if they get a little bit better track conditions. And then we've got this filly who probably maps 3 or 4 lengths behind Dynastic, BP, having to come down to the outside and run past him. It's going to be very, very difficult. She is really exciting, don't get me wrong, but he's a beast, and his form just says he should be the winner unless she is something out of the absolute cracker box.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? I think Dynastic has that advantage of maybe getting in front of his biggest danger here, where she could be in a tricky spot if she is from barrier number 1 and is deep on the rail, and it might be a case that Dynastic is, a couple of lengths in front of her on the point of the bend and trying to tie the race up there, and she's trying to close late. I think with the way that she's closed off, and both of her races have been very strong, and she's without a doubt the biggest Quinella chance in the race, but it's just with where she ends up in the map and trying to get away from that inside position at the right time before Dynastic gets rolling into the race. Look, a lot of different moving parts in this race here, Pip, but gee, I find it very hard to go past Dynastic.
Yeah, I can see what you're thinking there, Brendan. And do you agree? Is it hard to go past Dynastic? Do you think Bestseller Leith is the biggest danger?
I think the biggest danger will be Pierre, actually, on the home track. Dynastic, he's a great-looking colt, and obviously the track's not going to really suit him, but going off the last 2 runs, you'd think he'd just have the wood on Pierre, but I'd be backing a little bit of place money on Pierre as well.
And what about you, Bevan, with Dynastic as well?
Yeah, I'm with Dynastic. I don't disagree with Leith. I think Pierre is a great horse around 2nd, 3rd or 4th. If he wins, then he sort of lifts himself up a level and really puts himself into the mix. I know there was a lot of money around for that particular horse, but I'll be with Dynastic. When I saw him at the Bay, he is a beast, and he was very good. He came away from the last 100 metres. I can't get that out of my mind, how he dug in, came away from them, and was dominant at the line. Bestseller, if she blows on by, I'll be just as happy, because she is a very good, talented filly as well, going forward into the 3-year-old season. But Dynastic for me.
Yeah, look, intriguing battle, because you've got 2 horses that are right at the top of the market for their respective Guineas races. Dynastic, the 2,000 Guineas favourite. Bestseller is the $5 favourite for the 1,000 Guineas. It's everything you want in a key lead-up race towards those features. I'm a Dynastic. I think there might be a chance of here looking for some power plays. So a possible Dynastic and another runner for top 4. They could be horses like Desert Lightning. Desert Lightning ran a very good 4th in last year's Group 1 Sistema Stakes, as we said, was won by Lickety Split, and a horse who's run very well into 2nd position behind Sacred Satono most recently. Big respect for Bestseller, and I think looks to be the best Quinella chance in the race, but I'm going with Dynastic as my top selection.
Some nice options there, and a really nice 3-year-old race as well on the undercard over the 1,400 metres. We've got some horses. Stella Splendida, well, yes, she is the favourite. She is really well placed in that 1,000 Guineas market at the moment. Denby Rowe, though, wasn't he impressive at Tauranga? He's at $3.80 as well. So, BP, you made him your best bet for George Simon's runner, and geez, he put pay to that field. He is a big, big boy, and a little bit exciting here taking on Stella Splendida.
It is. Again, a very, like I said just beforehand, with the match race of what we've seen with horses going towards the Guineas. Well, this race is the same. Denby Road is on a path towards the 2,000 Guineas. This race is a lot different to what he faced here at Tauranga with what he faces on Saturday. But I did like the way that he won this race, and I think he took a lot of key things away from this race. Instead of just jumping, sitting outside leader and winning by 5, the fact that he was astride slow, had to come round horses, I think he took so much more out of the race than maybe doing exactly what they were expecting and sitting up on speed and winning. So, look, he's a big boy, but boy, he gets across the ground in good fashion as well. What a task for him on the weekend, because he's up against a favoured runner in the 1,000 Guineas in Stella Splendida. Yep, she did things wrong. It was a race that was a little bit niggly as well at the same time in terms of how the pressure was on and off. Opie gave her right chance to breathe and roll into the race, and she's a horse here on a soft 5 track condition with still a little bit of cut in the ground. Can't wait to see her on top of the surface as well and really explode in Stella Splendida. Drawn low, it might mean that she can take a good soft position in the race in Stella Splendida, and she might be the one that they'll be looking out for later the race. What about Battle Sound? Battle Sound won a maiden race here at this venue from an impossible position. Actually goes out of camera shot shortly here, does Battle Sound. He comes widest of them all. He comes from last, the second to last horse in this race, ends up running into second position. Would have liked to have seen maybe some more form bounce out of this race overall in terms of some of these maiden horses, but Battle Sound, he was very good on the track when coming out wide and producing something like this, because going through his trials, it certainly wasn't there, but he did it on debut when winning. Leith will bring you in here around this race. This 3-year-old race holds a lot of intrigue, doesn't it, with some of these horses bouncing out of maiden races to then tackle each other on a path to maybe trying to get to Riccarton.
Yeah, yes, Brent, it's a good race, and obviously Denby Road, he's definitely going to handle a heavy 10, where Stella Sapenda, there might be just a little bit of a question mark, but she's got so much class on her side. It's going to be a great race to watch.
Leith, if you had an option and you could ride one of them, who would it be?
My daughter's name's Stella, so it would have to be Stella Sapenda, but no, going to the 1,000 Guineas, I think I'd want to stick with Stella Sapenda.
Even though you've seen a runner like Denby Road in person, just the way that she finished them off, you just think there's that little class edge?
Well, just going to the 2,000 Guineas, I'd want to ride Dynastic.
Well, fair enough. And you can catch all of that action, Tabby Trackside 1. We're going to kick off really early as well, 11:05 with the 12 race program on Saturday. And we're joined on the phone by the one and only Opie Bosson, who does ride both of the favourites in the Group 1 and Group 2 on Saturday at Matamata. And firstly, Opie, thank you for joining us on the form, and they've put you to work on Saturday with a full book of rides, 12 of them.
Yeah, I haven't done that much work in a long time. I think the last time I'd done that was in Singapore when I was a teenager.
I talked to you before. It was good to hear that you were running at the gym on the treadmill, so there's not going to be a lack of fitness, but I see you riding 56 kilos, so you'll be doing it pretty tough.
Yeah, I went to the gym, run 9.5k this morning, and I've got a kilo to go for Saturday, so it's not looking too bad.
You'll be going good, mate. I see you got a great book of rides. Stella Sapenda, have you been on her back since you last raced?
Yeah, I rode her last week, and she felt great. She's going the right way. She's growing up a bit from that first start outing, and there's a lot of improvement in her.
Opie, what did you make of the start with Stella Splendida? She just looked like she over-raced a little bit. Is she a bit green?
She is still a bit green. We just didn't want to rush her too much early and get her over racing. Just wanted to teach her a little bit. But she's taken a lot of benefit out of that first up run, and she would have learnt a lot as well. And no, she's a very classy filly. And
she's got the perfect draw. You just box seat her, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you should get a nice front system behind them, and hopefully she'll switch off with a bit of cover. And she's got an electric turn of foot, so it'd be nice if we were on a really good track, because she is quick.
Just going back to the track, do you reckon it's going to dry up much for Saturday?
I couldn't see it drying out too much. We've had a bit of rain there today, and we're racing on new ground, which is probably a bit better, but the way the weather is, you couldn't see it drying out a hell of a lot.
Opie, the Group 1, you do ride Imperatriz. You were on. What did you make of her track work the other day at Te Rapa?
Yeah, it was excellent. She was back to her normal self and showed that turn of foot, and then I rode her again on Tuesday morning. I was on a heavy track, but her work was just as good. And it's not nothing. The track wasn't nothing like Hastings, where they couldn't get their feet out of it, but no, she's going the right way.
You're pretty lucky those races getting called off last week, and you jump back to Matamata home track, and she's been late on, so things fall in place sometimes, and $2 favourite, she looks like she's going to be pretty hard to roll.
Yeah, she's got the right draw, and I think we should see the best of her on Saturday.
Do you think La Creek's obviously your biggest danger, Opie? She's drawn next to you. Where are you going to put yourself in the race?
We'll just see how we jump away and probably box up in behind them somewhere. And La Creek will probably be behind me or inside me, so we'll just have to keep an eye on her. But I got a lot of respect for La Creek. She's a very good mare, so I won't let her too far away from me.
Absolutely not. And then you do ride Dynastic as well in the group. So what did you make of his run at Hastings? You must have been impressed with the way that he just kept on lifting, obviously on that track that doesn't suit him that well. Yeah, it was a very good run. He showed a lot of heart. I thought he was done and dusted there for a little bit, then I stuck it into him and he really responded, and he was going away from them in the end, and his work's been good. And Troy Harris rode him on Tuesday morning, and I walked off the track with him, and he said the horse is flying, so he's going the right way.
He's got a little bit of a tricky draw, but look, he's got natural sort of speed. I suppose he'll just try and get a sit sort of just behind the leader somewhere.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. He showed good speed last start. Hopefully there'll be a couple that go a bit and we might be able to pop in behind the leader somewhere.
I bet you can't wait to get to the 2,000 guineas on that sort of Flint rock hard track at Riccarton. It looks like he's going to just, it's a race made for him.
Yeah, it is. He's a big, strong colt, and he's got that action that will. The better the track, the better he'll go. I'm picking.
As Leith just mentioned about the 2,000 guineas, Opie, obviously the 1,000 guineas we look forward to, and you've got Stella Splendida, but you also rode One Kiss. Are you starting to lean towards one another, or are you waiting to Saturday to see what Stella does?
Yeah, we'll wait and see how she goes on Saturday, and I've got a lot of time for One Kiss as well. She won really well last start, and Mark tells me she's going the right way down south, and she looks great, he said. So I will just get Saturday out of the way, and they've both got to have another couple of runs anyway, so we'll just see what happens.
Let's have a look at your book of rides. Of course, as we mentioned, you've got one in every race, and your longest shot is an $8.50 chance. In the first, you ride a really nice horse in Alunda here at $3.50. If you had to pinpoint one outside of maybe Imperatriz, who would be your best ride of the day?
Ooh, geez, that's a tough one. There's that many. I do like Stella Splendida. I think the draw's going to help her, and I've always had a lot of time for her, and she's very classy.
Just going to your book of rides, like Tiako's got 55 runners and over the meeting. Obviously, the lightweights, they take care of themselves, so you can't pick and choose those ones. But how much say do you have in picking the rides, or is it Mark, or is it Aidan?
It was Mark this week. I had no say at all, so I just had to have a look to see what I was on when the fields came out. So hopefully Mark's got me on the best ones.
Hey, they look like a good book of rides.
Well, we wish you all the best on Saturday there, Opie, and hopefully, I'm sure you'll get that extra kilo off and you can pick up, I think, maybe more than just one win with 12 rides on the card.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Yeah, good luck, mate. See you on Saturday.
No, thanks for having me.
It's Opie Bosson, and yes, do check out all of his rides. No doubt he'll be one of the favourites for the Jockey Challenge on Saturday with a full book of rides and, of course, on a couple of those short price favourites and our features of the day. Time to find our best bets for the weekend, and we'll start with you, Leith. As per usual, where are you heading?
I'm going to go to Matamata Race 11, RJ's Flight. Mike Brosman, Craig Grills, and he was a little bit unlucky at Hawke's Bay, got sort of taken back through the field at a vital point, and look, I reckon he's up to winning this race.
Yes, I agree with you, Leith. He was unlucky at Hawke's Bay. He was the best mate in the country before this day, and he came out of this going into the Bay as a very short price favourite, but things just didn't go his way. So if he returns to this sort of form, he'll be dominant and blow them off the racetrack, I think, in his best of form. I'm going to take you to Hawera on Saturday, and a horse in theory that is back at the Bay next Saturday, and Charms Star. This is the performance for 6th at Te Rapa Fresh Up. You'll see her in the Lisa Ladder colours and about the last 3 or 4 there. From that position at Te Rapa, it was very difficult to get right into the mix, but I really love what she did late in this particular race. I think she does need a good track condition to show her best. She's at a good place price in the Livermore, and she's getting through some nice gears here late. When she was asked for an effort, she quickened nicely. There's some good horses in front of her. She goes into the right race and should go very close on Saturday at Hawera.
I'm going to go across the Tasman for my best bet. It's going to go to the Toorak, and I do like the chances of I Wish I Win. Hasn't this horse gone to another level since arriving in Australia? This was some win on at Sandown in an awkward position. I Wish I Win used the whole length of the straight and then just boomed home and had the audacity to almost sit up on the line. So it went round at a short quote on this occasion, and of course I Wish I Win won first up around Caulfield with Jamie Carr aboard. This was the Testarossa when trying to clear traffic, and then once he did, didn't he boom home? We know that he's got Group 1 form here, and of course his most recent run here in NZ was when he was able to finish into 3rd position at the elite level and behind Imperatriz. If he's got a sticky gate, he's drawn in barrier number 13, but if it can all pan out nicely for him, he could be a Group 1 winner across the Tasman and the Toorak on Saturday.
And that'll be Mintaz as well with that Kiwi breeding to the form. And speaking of Mintaz, that's where I'm heading Sunday on Monaco. Last race of the day with this greyhound here. I'm taking you back a month ago when he wins. Really nice company, puts away a good field. That's him in the black rug. He's had around a week off. He drops out of open, I should say a month off. He drops out of open grade, downgrades. I think the fact that they've put him away, bring him back for this race, I think he'll go very, very close in the last of the day on Sunday. By far the best personal time in the field as well, and you might just get a price around him with the likes of Lethal Angel in that field. So here's a summary of our best bets. Justin Evans, he's popped up with Heidi High on Sunday, meeting code 4, race number 1, and the Whale, meeting code 5, race 7. He's with Old Town Road on Friday. Note them down, pop them in your book, and hopefully we've found your winner too for the weekend. That's all we have time for on the form. Make sure you tune in on Saturday. Catch all the action with Letha and Brendan on course nice and early. Thanks once again, team, for joining us, and Opie Bosson. That's all the time we've got. You've been watching The Form.